Hello, this is Dean and welcome to today's video. So you've just arrived home after a long day at work, you've settled into your favorite chair with man's best friend and you want to zone out for a while and watch some TV. You pick up the remote and you remember that one or more of the buttons either partially functions or doesn't work at all. Hey, don't stress out. Let me show you how to fix it. Now if it's a $10 remote, buying a new one is certainly an option. But if it's a relatively expensive multifunction remote, like the ones in today's video, well, it's definitely worth the effort to clean and repair. So let's get after it. Today's project includes disassembly of these two Harmony remote controls, including cleaning of the rubber touchpads, and bonus video of the repair of the Model 350. We'll begin by taking apart the Model 650 using these jeweler's tools. Remove the battery cover and batteries if installed. And if you have a good magnifier headset, now's a good time to use it. Begin by removing these 4 screws at the rear of the remote. Now it's always a good idea to keep your loose screws in the battery cover to prevent loss. And using some painter's tape, mask off the area shown here on the nose screw cover to prevent damage from this next step. Use the smallest screwdriver that you have to get under and remove this cover. Removal of this nose screw cover reveals the 2 screws that hold on the nose cover. Now you would think removal of this nose cover could now be accomplished, but we're going to have to wait until the 2 halves are separated in the next step. It turns out that the best tool for opening the remote was a common household letter opener with a bend on the end. Who would have thought? Use this opener to slowly work your way around the remote, separating it at the seam while prying and twisting to carefully snap apart the 2 halves. Now take your time on this and rotate around the remote as you go. Once the 2 halves are separated, you'll be able to remove the nose cover. Note that the 2 halves should be pulled straight away from each other to avoid damage to vertical components on the circuit board. Next, we remove the circuit board itself by removing these 3 screws. Using a small flat screwdriver, carefully pry up and remove the clear backer plate. With great care on this next part, remove the rubber keypads. Now you can gain some assistance in this by pressing on the keys on the top of the cover. You want to separate these parts in preparation for the next operation. Prepare some warm, soapy water using dishwasher detergent in a plastic container. We're going to separate and immerse all of the parts except the circuit board. Now while these other parts are soaking, we can begin to clean the circuit board itself using some alcohol and a lint-free towel or cloth. Also, I like to use a pencil eraser to further remove contaminants on the circuit board. Then you can brush off any residue. Now you can use your hands or a soft toothbrush to clean these other components. Also, I like to place my thumb as shown, brace and clean these battery contacts with the eraser. You want to rinse and thoroughly dry all the washed parts, and you can use a hairdryer if you want on low heat. Now it's time for reassembly. Place the pads in first and follow up with the white plastic membrane. Now cover the membrane with the clear backer plate and then the circuit board. Replace the 3 circuit board screws. Now take note of these 2 female slots that receive the 2 male battery connectors as you join the 2 halves back together. The 2 male connectors must slide inside the female receptacles. Place the nose cover back between the circuit board and the bottom cover and carefully go around the perimeter, snapping these 2 halves back together. Then replace the 2 screws at the front of the remote. And then the 4 screws at the base. Replace the battery cover and then place a small amount of either regular glue, hot glue, even double-sided tape to this nose screw cover and set it in place to dry. And service on this model is complete. Now let's turn our attention to the Model 350. Remove the battery cover and the batteries. Remove the 4 screws at the base of the remote and set them aside in their battery cover. Just as before, tape off and remove the nose plate cover and these underlying screws. Now using the letter opener or equivalent tool, separate the 2 halves. Now on this model in particular, circuit board parts dictate that you pull these halves straight apart or you risk bending or breaking the parts, such as this part sticking straight up. Set aside the nose cover and note that this model also has 3 circuit board screws as well, but these are aligned vertically. We want to remove these. As we carefully remove the circuit board, we want to set it aside and remove the 2 rubber keypads. Now prepare the soapy bath and once again immerse all the parts except the circuit board. Clean the circuit board with alcohol and a lint-free towel or cloth, and finish up this process with our pencil eraser on all the circuit board pad contacts. Begin reassembly by replacing the rubber touch pads. Now, full disclosure here, once I reassembled, I discovered I still had a malfunctioning volume up button, so I took the remote apart again and did this. I used a common piece of aluminum foil and I found a small hollow metal tube about the size of the bottom of one of these buttons. I want to take that tube and press it into the foil and carefully tear up on the foil around the tube, which leaves a small piece of the foil inside the tube. Remove this piece and glue it to the bottom of the bad button on the back of the rubber pad. Now at first I tried to use super glue, but a slow tacky glue is best to use here. The aluminum foil aids in contact of the pad with the circuit board. Now reseat the circuit board and replace its 3 screws. And then replace the nose cover. And while joining the 2 halves together, be careful that the battery contacts slide into the receptacles. Once again, go around the perimeter, snapping the 2 halves together. Reinstall the 2 nose cover screws and the 4 screws at the base. Install the batteries, and before gluing on the nose cover plate, test the remote. Take note of the lights at the top of the remote as you test the buttons. Now, my malfunctioning button was the one located on the left center. But notice that now, as I repeatedly press that button, thanks to the aluminum foil, the light appears showing that it now functions. Problem solved. Reglue the nose screw cover and replace the battery cover, as we call this project complete. As always, I want to thank you for viewing, and I pledge to you guys to provide for you the highest resolution, cleanest how-to videos possible. I will not upload a video that doesn't meet my own strict standards, and as a result, I hope that you're able to replicate these successes and avoid any of my failures. Drop me a comment and let me know how your repair went. You can do this. As always, I want to invite you to search on Pilot View Productions to see a list of all my how-to videos. Until then, we'll see you next time.